All right, guys, welcome back. It's Pride Month, Pride 2021. All right, well, it's well into the month. Right now it's June 13th, but yeah, I think I've been kind of I wouldn't say not motivated, but kind of in a space where I'm trying to decide kind of something that seems like it would be beneficial and relevant to talk about. So today I want to talk about, pride, re-entering that social space during Pride itself, Pride Month itself, Pride season itself. A funny thing about me, I really like that song. Well, I don't really like it, but what's it called? It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's a Christmas song, but for me it's kind of funny because whenever it's like Pride Month, I'm always like, that's the song that I have in my mind. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I mean, where I live in Southern California, all the stuff about like snow and all that kind of like snow related cultural stuff about sleighs and all that kind of stuff doesn't really apply to where I live. But I mean, those lyrics would need to be changed, but I think almost everything else kind of fits almost. But yeah, I want to talk a lot about Pride and just kind of how it's been, re-entering social spaces. We all know how things have changed, definitely, in the last almost 2 years now. But so yeah, today I was talking with some friends of mine, some really close friends, my boys. We got on the phone, finally made our phone convo. We were gonna FaceTime, didn't end up doing that. So one of my friends, he's up in like the LA area right now. I'm down in San Diego. The other guy, he's over in far, like over like in North Carolina. So, we don't get to see each other in person very often at all, but I'm working on it. I've gotten more motivated towards traveling in this last year, so that's good. Just gotta plan it out more and put it into motion. But yeah, I was just having some trouble even talking to them. I mean, I was rested. I feel pretty refreshed. Quite a bit of renewed energy. So for me, I noticed it was a little different, but I could feel those guys dragging. I'm like, dude, like, one of my friends was kind of just sitting there, didn't really have much to say. The other one, his lady was on the line with us too. And so that's another thing where it's like, I mean, I love them, I'm not against their girlfriends or anything, but I'm still not really used to, talking to my boys while their girlfriends are kind of like they're more than girlfriends at this point. They've both been in pretty long-term established relationships, and I'm friends with their girlfriends, but it's kind of like, it's still hard for me to kind of like be a little more open with them because they're new, and they're not new. I'd say maybe a couple years into relationships, but it's like, it's still kind of like, I don't know, like there's a maybe like I wouldn't call it like a feminine energy necessarily, but maybe it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird space for me. People who don't really know me too well wouldn't know that I'm kind of more, I wouldn't call myself I'd say more on the STEM side. So like, I'm kind of a more sensitive individual, not very effeminate dressing, but not super masculine dressing either. But I'd say most of my clothes, I buy them in the male sections. Usually I purchase a lot of stuff on Amazon Prime these days, but because shopping in person is just so limited for me. Like, it's just easier to just shop online. There are a lot of queer companies online too, trying to make things more affordable, and like seeing what's out there. Queer companies, non-binary companies, like people who kind of understand a little bit more about like different types of fashionable things for different types of people. So, we all know how that's a whole thing of its own. But yeah, like, it's, sometimes like socially I kind of like, my friends, we can kind of have really open conversations, but I feel like it's hard to have them when like everybody's got their girlfriend on the line. So like we kind of just talk about memories of old times and kind of like work and the weather and traffic and stuff that's just kind of surface level-ish. But I was trying to mention to them, that for me lately it's been hard socially, and I didn't really explain it in much detail. I didn't explain like the details of what's been hard socially. But mostly it pertains to it being this time of the year, the most wonderful time of the year, my favorite season, June. And that kicks off into two other of my favorite months in July, and August is my birthday month. So, plenty of party opportunities in these 3 months. And then I really usually like it. So I was really enjoying myself with friends, and I've been socializing with the same friends all through COVID. Like I've mentioned before, I've met up with a couple of my friends. I mean, with a crew of my friends. There's maybe like 6 to 8 of us that hang on like a regular basis. And I have some other sprinkle of friends off of that same group, but I do have a main group that I call like my family group of friends out here. Recently, we've gotten to know each other better. It's like a queer group of people, and we all kind of relate on that level, but we're pretty open with each other about stuff, more so now. But for me, it's a lot easier to be open, like emotionally open, when it's, either my close, my boys, or, this close-knit group of friends that I've been seeing more frequently, for like over a year. We've been kind of like each other's like main social groups. And so since I've been able to do that with them, and it's kind of helped us, establish like a closer bonded relationship. We kind of all hang out more often. But, yeah, so we do make more plans. I do, find myself like prioritizing hanging out with them. If they have events, I try to prioritize, their event over other people's events. I try to really just do a lot of stuff socially with them, especially taking a trip. That ski weekend trip was really a powerful kind of trip to take together. I really liked how everyone was kind of positive, managing their emotions, and it wasn't like dramatic, and people were respectful and kind and sensitive towards one another. I remember I was super nervous going into it, and feel like, it was still really positive. Overall, like, it was a good time, a really great time, one of the best I've had in like years. So that was great. And today it was kind of hard, like, talking to my friends, like, socially, because I was trying to, like, explain all this to them, that I'm just like, dude, I've been hanging out with the same freaking people, which is fine. Like, I don't say it in a bad way, but I've been hanging out with the same crowd for, like, over a year, which is great, Socially, I never really have too many clear expectations as to like where things are going with my social life, but I am very social. Before 2019, or before, the Rona hit in 2019 or 2020, I don't even know what year it was. In March of 2020, when everything kind of shut down. Before that, I was just as social as can be. Going out all the time, hanging out with different crowds of friends. None of my main groups of friends had really moved away at all. Yeah, everything was kind of the same as it had been for quite a few years, even though things do change a lot around here, but everything was pretty much the same as it was. And, some of my friends that were busy that I didn't get to see too often, it was mostly just because they were busy. I was busy, but, we would have still had opportunities to get out and go out with each other. And most of my friends out here are either, I say queer to mean, part of the LGBTQ plus, population. I just say queer because it's easier for me. Not everybody identifies as queer, but I usually just say that because it's just my own simplified, way of explaining, non-straight, and then, or non-cis. So people are either non-cis or non-straight, or there's like a combination of people, because I do have some trans friends who are, maybe they're not gay, but they're trans. And so, they're not cisgender. And then I have some friends who are allies. So most of my crowds out here, they can intermingle and still socialize and interact, and it's still fun. They still all get along pretty good. And then I have another friend crowd up in LA. So, two things I'm noticing. You guys probably even notice this too. Whenever I'm talking, I can barely get out a sentence. But one thing is with my own social groups of friends, how socializing has become. And then another thing is with interacting, meeting new people, and dating, how socializing has become. And I'll keep the interacting and dating stuff towards the end, because that is probably more what people want to kind of hear. And I can go more into detail about that. But as I described how my friendship groups looked pre-March 2020, like I said, the only people I didn't really see were the people that were quite a bit too busy to kind of interact. And I was always between, LA and, San Diego, traveling back and forth whenever I felt like, if I had social opportunities or social kind of plans up in LA, I'd go up to LA. Otherwise, I'd be down here in San Diego, because that's where I live. So those were some of the things I was definitely noticing. Did I hate this? Sorry. I get, a little annoyed because, there's a whole entire parking lot of empty spaces where I come and park in the shade, and then somebody comes and parks right next to me. And yeah, there's, okay, I see that's what it is, because there's another spot. So we have the only 3 shady spots. That's what it is. I see. Okay. Anger resolved. Yeah, I just don't want to be around people. That's why I come over here. I just want to chill in the shade outside. I'm not trying to chill with other people, but because I feel weird recording these outside of my place with the windows wide open, and then the neighbors and my own housemates hearing or being able to overhear, even if they're maybe not listening. I just would rather just not. It's not for them, so I just don't want to involve them. But something I kind of am realizing, something I'm kind of noticing, other than those friends that I've talked to in the past, other than those friends that have been friendly with in the past for so long. Yeah, I hardly met any new people since, I want to say, about before February of 2020. I don't think I really met that many new people. I had a couple friends of friends come into town and then got introduced to another friend of a friend. So I think total I've met 3 new people. Well, maybe a 4th, because there's some, well, no, because they're kind of part of the main crowd, just doesn't come out all the time. So I think I've actually solidified some closer relationships with maybe 3 to 4 people that I was often, or 5 people that I could say that I'd seen before March of 2020, but because I was so often hanging out with the same group of people, and they would invite, like, there were a couple friends that were like kind of like, as if that was the main group, they had some other friends that they would always usually invite too that like weren't always so available. But those other, like, I'd say 5 people would come around enough that I think I got to know them pretty well. I don't have all of their numbers. I think there's one that I don't have their number, and the main reason why is because I can't tell. Well, actually, first of all, they're like, a lot of these people that I hang out with are already in relationships, but like they're in a relationship and also like really close with another one of my friends, so I'm kind of like hesitant. Like, I get hesitant about stuff because I don't want people to feel like I'm like hating on them. I've mentioned that before too, that that's something that comes up for me. It's kind of a bit of a stressor talking to new people that I don't know that aren't queer or that are queer. I don't like people assuming that I'm hating on them. I mean, I've met attractive people that I thought were attractive that, clearly we were interacting and I was like not telling them that they're attractive, but like maybe it shows that I kind of think that. But I don't really flirt or really hit on people, so I feel like it was a little when people a couple times, straight women, have like said, like, mentioned like, oh, I have a boyfriend, or like that kind of thing, and like they just say it in a way that's like maybe they're trying to like deter me from like asking them out or something. But it's like, I just kind of like to talk to people and I like to get to know them, and I feel like maybe it's just my social style isn't really what they're used to, of like just random people approaching. Not random, I mean, they're people I've seen, I know their names, they're part of the social groups that I've hung out with often. Like, I rarely just approach random people, unless I'm in a setting that's like maybe a bar or club where it's like that's kind of more appropriate, because like in those social spaces, especially gay social spaces, it's very common to just approach people. But I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later. But yeah, I really haven't met that many new people. I've just luckily, I guess, solidified about like 5 relationships with people, 4 of which I can say when I do have plans. They're 2 couples basically, but when I do have things that I might want to do or plans or something, I am starting to kind of like consider them to like invite them, and they've seemed kind of interested in like interacting and doing stuff together, so that's pretty nice, even though the things that I've recently tried to plan kind of fell through, so that kind of sucked. But it's not that they fell through, it's just that the event that I had planned to try to go to with them the event I had planned to go to with them, I thought, and I guess they read the site, I hope too, we thought it was in person because it said live in-person performances, and then it turned out that was a live stream of the live performances. So basically, yes, it was live performances, but we weren't gonna get to see them. So in person, we weren't gonna get to go, and we actually thought we were gonna go, and it was a Pride event, so I was like, shoot, that sucked. But it was cool that they wanted to go, but we just didn't go because it just wasn't an option. So some of us watched it online. And then, let's see. So, yeah, some of us watched it online. We didn't really, yeah, it wasn't like planned to be that way, but like, you know, one of them opened their house and like it was really cool. Like I was like, that's nice of them, and now we got to hang out more and stuff. So that was it still worked out in a way, and saved a lot of money from not having to drive all the way out to LA. But yeah, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was just fun to hang, simple, cheap. We had some drinks, snacks, chatted and stuff, and it was pretty chill. And then I had like I mentioned, those people, there were maybe 3 people that I had met through all those people over the last year and a half or so. And I don't really think anything negative about it. Well, now looking back on it, like, cause I was like, man, I haven't met any people, I haven't done anything. But I guess we did have a lot of space last summer to hang out outside a lot and sit and chat and talk and relax. Whereas usually we're at bars and clubs where you can't really talk. I mean, you can, but it's different when you're all drunk and everybody's like, yeah, you can talk and have a party and stuff, but I'm kind of liking that, you know, we can do in-house events and stuff too. People don't seem too intrusive. But yeah, it was just kind of hard for me today, like talking to my friends, and I was just like, I kind of wanted to like bring up some of that stuff, but I'm like, it feels kind of weird to be like, oh yeah, let me complain about all my like gay problems to my straight male friends. So that was just kind of interesting. I don't usually have that much reservation with them, but I'm noticing like having some reservations. That's one of them that just came up in a social setting like recently, even though it was on a call. I just felt like, you know, we weren't having like too deep of a connected conversation. It was more like, well, let's chat, you know, we were just checking in. And I mean, I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to like interact, but I didn't want to like I didn't want to tell them too much of what I've been doing. I've been writing, which is good. And then yeah, so we'll fast forward a little bit to, you know, more recent social interactions. You know, things are opening up supposedly in 2 days. So on June 15th, things are supposed to be opening more. That's this Tuesday. They're supposed to rip off the Band-Aid or cut the ribbon. Grand opening, I don't know what you want to call it, but grand opening back into life. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping for the best. But I'm noticing definitely socially things are feeling real awkward for me. So recently I was at a, you know, during Pride Month, you know, a gay bar situation, lounge, you know, lounging with friends at a gay bar with some snacks and like some food resources, some food sources, and you know, a little bit of money to spend, not going overboard, but chilling with a group I don't usually chill with. There were 2 couples and myself and a friend. It was mostly her. I think she invited me to something her friend had planned under their name or something. I don't know exactly what the whole thing was, but I really liked hanging out with that crowd. I was a little shy. I talked to them a little bit. I had some little jokes, and like we all got along. I don't think it was like a jerk kind of thing. I don't think I was being a jerk. I don't have any regrets of anything I did or said, so that's good. And was kind of joking with some people. Actually, there's another person there too that had left a little early, so there were actually 7 of us. And we were just chilling, and it was fun. It was a good time. I liked, chatting with some people I didn't really know. Didn't really have much to say, but it was still a fun environment. I guess it was maybe like an ally and then like 6 of us queer folks. And like I said, a couple of them were in relationships, and then the ally person was in a relationship that person wasn't there. So it was pretty comfortable. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed meeting and talking and interacting, and that was fun. I really had a fun time with it, and it was really refreshing. Like the last few days, weeks, I've been minimally socially interacting just because I've been feeling a little off. But, my solution to that was, okay, you're feeling off, so spend more time alone to recover. And I forget often how refreshed I feel. It took, having dinner, after work, at the end of the week with a friend to realize, oh shoot, like I've really, been missing this social motivation. I've got a lot of queer friends around me, a lot of allies around me. I mean, I'm lucky. Not everybody has that. And, not everybody's like looking to make plans. It's not like I have like all these friends that are like making plans and I'm like ditching them or like anything like that. But there are quite a few times where, in the past couple weeks, my friends wanted to go and drink. And I was like, I just didn't feel like going out for drinks. And, I was like, we're not going to have a meaningful conversation. I've got a lot on my mind. I'd rather just sit and stew in it, which I did. But I don't think that was helpful. And then this weekend, I was even having a hard time getting up to, like, do social stuff. But then once I started doing it, I was like, I think I just am out of the swing of things. And when I'm actually there in the moment, I'm actually having a blast. And when I get home, I'm like, man, that was fun. And I feel so much better. Because I like and love socializing with the people I know. And it's been really a blessing getting to know them better through all this. At least, we've had more opportunities to have like some quieter interactions. Because, we didn't have like a lot of places where we could really go easily, where it wasn't like a hassle. Waiting in line forever, having to order food that you don't even want, and like spending a lot of money and then like chugging your beer because like you only got 2 hours. So, or if the weather wasn't on point, then it's like, I mean, out here the weather's always pretty good. So even with outdoor dining, I mean, even during winter we were fine, but I mean, it wasn't ideal. I mean, there were clearly days where I was like, man, I should have had like a heavier jacket, but whatever. Like, it's not like bad for your health out here for the most part. If you're not always exposed to it, like, you'll be just fine. And then yeah, like, so that was something weird in my book. Something else weird in my book, in my life, is like yesterday somebody came up and they were really cool, man. Like, they kind of talked over from their table, like they was diagonally across the aisle from us, and they were like, saying to somebody in the group, like, it's nice to see some non-cis, males, some non-cis male representation in this space, and so they were like, cheers to you, like, I applaud you and your whole group, and that made all of us feel pretty good. And then that same person came over, got our whole table shots. We all had shots together. We all had a drink together. Then they proceeded to want to stay there with them and their whole table, bring all their food over. And that's where, okay, I'm not knocking it. I wasn't against it. I wasn't, like, turned off by it. But pre-Rona, me would have likely been like, oh, cool, like, this person wants to, socialize. They gave their name. They were really sweet and cool about it, but, like, fun, but not, like, obnoxious, but social, but not, like, too overboard. Just kind of, like, they had some energy in them, which was cool. And this was a trans woman. She seemed real chill. And one of her friends, or I'm assuming friends, I don't know, somebody from that same group comes over. So all this time we were waiting for the person who does these, like, popsicle, like, ices. They're like these ices with, like, whiskey or vodka or whatever and, like, flavor and stuff. And so this person walks around with a Speedo on and shirtless usually. This day all the waiters were wearing kind of like Catholic school uniform like kilts or skirts, I don't know what you call them. And then kind of like Doc Marten boots. That was their kind of uniform, and then kind of like cut off tees. So that was kind of cool. I was like, cool, you got all these guys in skirts, and it was kind of a cool look. I really liked it a lot. It looked like kilts almost, but I don't think they were kilts. They may have been kilts actually, but I don't know. The colors were they reminded me of, like, plaid schoolgirl uniforms. It was pretty cool though. I liked it. I was down with it. I was like, this is cool, man. And then we're waiting for the icy person because somebody, there were people in the group who were kind of like, oh, let's get, like, a gander. And so it's like, yeah, well, if they come over, you're gonna have to buy ice cream. It's like, but people didn't really mind. They're like, all right, get a little look, a little eye candy. So this person comes over, and while we're, trying to decide what to purchase, that's when the other table started coming over to us and, like, get this table around the shots. And so we had these, like, Starburst shots or something like that, or Jolly Rancher. I don't know what the flavor was. And they were delicious. And I was already done drinking, and so I didn't want a popsicle. And then, or icy or whatever they were. And yeah, it was kind of funny. So the friend comes and sits next to me and is like, are you guys all in a relationship? Like, I don't know. Like, I assume they meant, like, or they said something along the lines of, like, are you guys in some kind of poly situation, like, this whole group, like, I'm just thinking, like, there's 6 of us here. Like, at that time, there were, like, 6 of us. And I'm like, I know, that's fine to have, like, 6 people in a poly relationship. I see nothing wrong with that. But it just caught me off guard because I was like, that is a very open-minded and unexpected question that I saw, that I was like, oh, like, sorry, I gotta shut the door. Where I was just kind of like, oh, like, I don't usually hear people say that. Like, I don't usually hear people mention, poly relationships and, seeming like on one, like, open-minded about it. And then the other comment that person made to me was, about the dude that was, like, giving out the icicles. This person's like, I don't want to see that. Maybe like a girl in a bikini or something, but I don't want to see all that. And I was like, yeah, maybe across the street, because that's where the lesbian bar is across the street. So I was kind of like, but I don't know, like, if we were really hitting it off. And then our group was pretty much trying to leave too, and nobody really fully accepted their invitation to invite themselves to our table. They had started to come over, and then we're like, oh, can we like come over? And then one of my friends did kind of mention like, oh, we're gonna leave kind of soon, but I don't think they said it like directly to anyone to a point where they were gonna talk to us or something. And so that person was really nice to buy us drinks and everything, and I was called an A. And then on my way out, I was like, thanks, A, for the shots. And she was like, thanks, sweetie, kind of thing, or thanks, girl, or something like that, or you're welcome, girl, or something like that. It was kind of like cool. And so yeah, it was a nice gesture, it was a fun time. But I'm just thinking, my original, pre-pandemic self would have easily started talking to those people, especially because they came over to approach us. They weren't, we weren't doing anything. They bought us drinks. I mean, I was already a couple drinks in, and so, maybe I wasn't fully thinking it through of like, okay, like now it's time to socialize, but my brain just never kicked in social mode. Like usually it would have kicked in. These people weren't unattractive either, and they were actively speaking to us, and I was just kind of like, cool. Like they seemed cool, they seemed outgoing, and they had some kind of jokes and were kind of like upbeat. You could tell they were just, at least at that time, they just seemed friendly, wanting to interact. So A goes back to their table and is kind of standing but talking to one of the waiters. And then the other person that was talking to me kind of gets up with them and like leaves. And this is all like open seating out like in a lounge area, so you can see like every table from whichever one you're at. You can see, unless somebody else is in like a cabana or something with the like curtain shut, which happens, but usually all of them you can see, especially because they're divided by these like plastic shields, so you can still see through them. You just usually, even the people that are behind you or next to you or whatever, you can't interact because there's that plastic shield in the way. And even though you see the people, it just kind of makes you not interact, which is kind of almost funny. And then you see the people across that came over to us, and they didn't have masks on. They seemed open-minded to sitting down. Usually I wouldn't have minded just like, oh yeah, we're gonna leave soon, but you guys should come over, especially because they bought us all drinks. So I was like, that's cool, and we're leaving, so if we're not, in my mind, usually I would have thought, if we're not interested, since we're leaving as a group, if this small talk doesn't go anywhere, I would have easily just been like, oh, that was fun, I'm gonna leave with my friends, and then like we all leave. End of story, end of night, whatever, that's what I normally would have done. And if the night was seeming like, okay, these people are fun, I want to still interact, and then my other friends were leaving, I would have been like, oh, I'm gonna walk my friends out and I'll come back and hang out with y'all, like, and just spend the rest of my night, hanging out with them until either I felt like I didn't want to, or until they decided they didn't want to, or till it maybe got too awkward, because you never know. When you're first meeting people, you never really know if it's going to get awkward, but, I have a car, I have access to Ubering, like I'm set enough that, I can make choices to interact socially. And this was like midday, before, like around dinner time, maybe a little before dinner time, so it wasn't even night yet, so I was like, dude, we could totally interact. We could totally hang out. Yeah, but I was like, man, like, and so I think early this morning or late last night, one combo, I was like, man, what kind of opportunity did I just miss? Two people come up to our table, are socializing and making direct conversation. Clearly they want to talk because they're talking to everybody. I don't know if they were like fuckboys or what, but they were just like totally socializing. And they were attractive, and I was like, damn, man, I like totally missed that. Like, but I got in a couple comments. I'm like, okay, maybe they just weren't interested. That could be what it was too. It may not have been that we socially failed. It may have been that maybe after they kind of saw us and talked to us for a little bit and kind of got the vibe, maybe we were too low energy vibe for them. That's very possible too. So I didn't really think of that till now, but yeah, they were kind of cute. So I was like, damn, like I kind of missed that. But normally that's kind of where my mind would have gone. But no, that didn't happen yesterday. And then something else happened yesterday that's kind of a quicker situation where, like, usually, how do I put this? People who don't know me too well might not know that I'm a very 420 friendly person. So, and where I live is legal. So, and I'm of an adult age to be able to partake, and so it's not really an issue out here. Smoking patios out here, you can vape. Even if it's like cannabis, you can vape it. Like, nobody's gonna kick you out for it. You can't really just like be vaping all over the place, but like in designated areas, like it's fine. Nobody cares. And that's kind of my social spot usually, is vaping areas. And I kind of from where I was sitting, I could see somebody that I was like, man, she's been sitting over there by herself for like at least 30 minutes, texting, I don't know who or what, probably waiting for somebody. And I didn't really have any courage, or I kind of like was standing up to go over and like see kind of like, what are you vaping, like, are you here with somebody, kind of, because I was just sitting there the whole time with my friends, like talking to my friends, but every time I looked over, that same person was over there by themselves. So I was like, okay, like, but I was like, then I just got up and I just went to the bathroom instead, and I was like, dude, like, I don't know, part of me didn't want to get rejected, another part of me was like, is it even okay to like socialize and like meet people anymore? Like, I hesitate now. It's like, dude, like, where's this coming from? Like, I previously had never really hesitated. Not that I'm not shy, because I am, but usually I wouldn't have avoided, in a social space like that, when it's like a place where it's appropriate to talk to someone, going over to a vaping or smoking section, having out my vape pen, just taking a couple of hits. I don't think I ordinarily would really ever avoid just going over, vaping, putting out a couple comments, seeing if I get any interaction back, and then just fucking going from there, but that's kind of how I've noticed, things have gone for me. And yeah, it's kind of just odd for me. It's awkward. I feel awkward about this, that I'm kind of like struggling with it. Like, socially I struggle anyways, but I would say, I tend to get a little more courage especially during Pride, like, that's when all the gays come out. Like, even the ones that never go out try to go out during Pride. So it's like, you're meeting people that you otherwise, like, I think, at the lesbian bar, not 2020, but I think in 2019, that was the first year I'd seen like older gay women groups out in public as like friend groups. I was like, you never see people in their like 50s and 60s like out partying with their girls, at a gay bar, like, you just never see that. It's usually like a younger crowd or like smaller dates, But yeah, I was like, you never really see that. But I I kind of thought, I saw some people that I ordinarily would have, tried to at least interact with some more or would have approached. People kind of don't completely ignore me. I'll put it that way. And I'm kind of noticing that. I'll never get a swell head over it because, like, I think my self-esteem and kind of, like, the way I kind of see my own self isn't maybe too accurate, maybe compared to what other people might be seeing. I kind of really second guess and doubt myself. So I really like sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought. But yeah, even for me, like, dating. So now dating has become a very, very complex thing for me lately. So with dating, I'm still talking to people, but there's some people that I was talking to that, things kind of ended during March, or before that with one person, and someone else I picked up kind of a situationship of types near October of 2019. That was after something that I had going on like near June of 2019 that ended kind of near my birthday in August of 2019. Then like October 2019, I had a situation come up that lasted through March of 2019. And that's kind of when things, or March of 2020, sorry. October 2019 to March of 2020. That's probably the last situationship type of situation I've had at all. So that's also not normal because, before all that, I was quite a serial dater. I've never really used the term poly before, but I really don't mind poly relationships. The most exposure I've had to it is on, bi dating apps. I've really noticed that a lot of times there's a lot of poly themes in those dating apps, and to me, for some reason, it's not appealing. I think mostly because there's a lot of cis men in there, and it's a lot of times majority cis men with a female partner, where I'm kind of like not really trying to do that. It feels like a straight couple to me or something. I don't really know. Or like a fetish, like a cis male, like straight guy fetish, or like a bi-curious female. Like, I don't really know for a fact, but it's like I would be down for a poly relationship with queer people, but I'm not sure if that's what's happening on those apps. And so in my mind, from the interactions I've had talking online with people on those apps, it feels like to me, and that should be a whole other topic of its own, but it feels like to me that the majority of what I came across was like poly, or couples looking for a third that's usually female. And it seems to come from a place of, there's a cis straight male that doesn't mind his lady hooking up with a lady, and then maybe the woman's doing it because he likes it, or maybe the woman's doing it because she's curious, or maybe she is gay or bi or pan or fluid or whatever you want to call it. Like, maybe she is a queer person. But But I've just never done that from a straight people point of view. I've been in more of like, so sometimes when I say like a situation or situationship, it's kind of like I'm with somebody and we kind of have an understanding that we're both together, we're both, more than friends, but we're not necessarily we're not necessarily like exclusive, or we're not too deeply committed only to each other only. I mean, there's still some flexibility in it. I don't have to have things that way. I feel like that's how most of my relationships actually do go, because I don't mind it. And at first I was like worrying. I was like, maybe it's a self-esteem thing, because I don't think I deserve just like one person just for me and them together. And I was like, no, that's not really what it is. It's just, I think I do actually kind of seek that out more. It's kind of more what I like. And I mean, I know that it's complex, but I've never really had issues with it, other than the fact that I feel weird about it, because it's just an added layer to like queer life that's like, now there's this other part of it too, because it's like, just because I would date a female doesn't mean that I would date any person that she's with. I mean, that is another factor too. I don't know, there's just so many dynamics, but yeah, since March there's been really none of that. Like I said, I've met 3 new people that aren't in relationships, that 2 of them don't even live anywhere near, and one of them I've realized that I'm not interested in. It wouldn't be a good fit. But I've been, so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was about the dating. Definitely a topic that I haven't really spoken about too much. So, yeah. But I should record some as well about like bi and poly relationships. I mean, they're not necessarily the same thing. If you're bi, it doesn't mean that you have to be poly. If you're poly, it doesn't mean you have to be bi. I think there's this website called poly.land. It had some interesting ideas, but I haven't been on there for a while. I think it's like a blog. But I don't know. And then, so there's that. And then, yeah, another topic I'd want to talk about more is like dating trans people, or non-binary people, or just people who aren't cisgender people. Maybe it should go in that order. Because there are some things that come up, and for people who aren't necessarily dating or are considering dating these different types of people, I kind of have some things that I think would be helpful tips. Again, I'm not really in a position to legally give like any professional advice to anybody, but these are just kind of things that I notice would be of use. So stay tuned to listen for more of that, depending what order you're listening to these in, or when I post the other information. Actually, maybe I shouldn't have said that so soon, but yeah, guys, as usual, thanks for listening and happy Pride.